Hello, I'm Tresa Eyres, and I'm so happy to be here and tell you about a growing trend in volunteering in 2020. At least it's a growing trend here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live. And because San Francisco area is often seen as the incubator, not only of technology, but also social change movements, I'm hopeful that the trend is spreading elsewhere. It's about the power of talk. So I'm going to start a PowerPoint. Let's see if this works. So for one thing, the trend fits perfectly with Rotary's mission of advancing goodwill and peace around the world. For the second thing, and really good news, it's something we all can do using the tools and skills we already have. And even more good news, anyone can do this on either a small scale or a large scale, beginning anytime. That's because every single one of us on this call has the most powerful ability known to humankind, the power to speak and listen and do, to make that positive difference that we all talk so much about. Every single morning as I enter my office and sit down to my computer, this is the quote I see, and it's what I try to do. Starting where I am, I'm retired from paid employment. So far, I have good health and energy, discretionary time, and I care deeply about learning for myself and others. When I'm leaving this world, I want to think I've done a bit of good, and also I love good conversation. So using what I have years of experience in business and in life, and almost a lifetime of volunteering. My professional career was in developing learning programs for organizations big and small, both for-profit and nonprofit in the US and globally. I can talk, ask questions, and listen, and I know how to use the internet. As for doing what I can, I'm working to create a safe place for meaningful discussions with people of all ages, genders, nationalities, religions, economic status, political affiliation, you name it. And to Arthur's saying, I will add, do what you love. Because if you don't love it, it won't last, and you won't be very good at it. So big talk. Now, nearly everyone can speak and listen. But as with so many things, it's the how. Speaking and listening has the power to go a long way toward making the kind of changes we want to make. But not all talk is the same. There is small talk that we use every day, and it has its place. I care more about really important conversations, big talk. And I'm excited that those are trending right now. With some with nonprofits you may not have heard about. Big talk has the potential to do all of these things, to develop new relationships and strengthen long-standing ones, to reduce social and generational divides, to build bridges instead of tearing them down, and to solve problems rather than cast blame. I'm going to quickly go through a few examples of nonprofits that are based on big talk. All but one started here in the Bay Area. You needn't take notes. Bruce has a 2-page document with more information in case any of you want to research any of these things further. The first one is called The Grand. It was founded in the Bay Area last year, and it's already growing to include audiences nationwide. Founders, Anita and Ray, they're in the corner, noticed that Gen X and Gen Y of their co-workers at Silicon Valley, DC, were gathering around a proverbial water cooler, and they were grappling with big issues that they might not want to share with their parents and close friends. Things like how to find the perfect mate, navigating intercultural marriage, married or unmarried, whether or not to have children. So they quit their day jobs and started the Grand to enable people to get talking away from the water cooler. and to intentionally mix younger with older people as a way to better inform each side and navigate the journeys. The Grand started with people, excuse me, meeting in homes with volunteer facilitators. I hosted 2 events in my living room. The Grand discussions have now moved to the internet in order to reach a larger audience to scale up. This one, let's imagine end of life. The topic might sound morbid, but you know, everybody's going to die, so we might as well prepare for it, just like we prepare for other important life events. So imagine end of life. There's an annual week-long celebration in 2 parts of the country, one on the East Coast and one on the West, with hundreds of events, and the majority of them are free, and with thousands of people attending. It is described as a community-driven, transformative exploration of death and celebration of life through creativity and conversation. Last November, my colleague Janet Gallen and I led a workshop as part of this meeting, this convention, called Love Letters to the Dying or Already Deceased. My Life, My Stories is another nonprofit whose goal is to get small groups of different populations of people together to learn about each other and engage in, again, meaningful conversation. It works to include people of color, immigrants, low-income elders, the homeless, vets, and LGBTQ seniors. The sessions usually have a theme, and they encourage the sharing of life legacies of older adults through the power of intergenerational relationships. It was founded and operates here in the San Francisco Bay Area, hosting free and low-cost events. They began in person and have now moved to Zoom calls for times when getting together in person isn't possible. I've not attended any of these events, but I know people who have, and they talk about them in glowing terms. This one you may recognize. It's one of 50 villages in California, among 200 active villages across the country and an additional 150 in development. The San Francisco village shares a common mission with others that reads, "We are a community organization led by older adults who share their skills, support, and expertise with each other to navigate the challenges and opportunities of aging. We welcome people of all cultures, faiths, genders, orientations, abilities, and ages." Excuse me. Kate Hopke, that you see there in the corner, is the executive director of the San Francisco Village. And she has a new organization, a new vision for her organization. And that is to go beyond seniors giving support to other seniors. They'll keep that. But she plans to get different generations, old and young, together to address the issues of importance to all generations. And with hope, they can make plans for action. At this point, you should be getting a sense of a trend, not just of meaningful conversations, but also conversations that include a variety of ages. San Francisco Village may be unique, or at least a leader in this movement Kate has in mind about getting old and young together. And here's what has spurred her initiative. I don't know how many of you have heard the expression, "Okay, boomer." It's a catchphrase that caught on among younger generations last year. It's used to dismiss or mock attitudes stereotypically attributed to the baby boomer generation. "Okay, boomer." Gen Z, it turns out, is fed up with the boomers who they feel don't take their Gen Z issues seriously. Issues like, among others, I'll read them off here: economic inequality, student debt, gun safety, the climate crisis, immigration reform, the unraveling of our democracy, and probably more. Kate says of these young people, they are upset and scared, and why shouldn't they be? So if you look at the chart, who are these young people? They're They're the youngest, and they range in age from 0 to 19. The ones who are active now are in the 10 to 19 age range. All of the Gen Z you'll see are will form close to 25% of our population. As many as the top two, the traditionalists and the boomers, put together. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is that while they are just 25% of the population, it's 75% who now have a lot of influence at the ballot box. And Gen Zers, most of them cannot yet vote. So they have to make themselves heard in other ways. And let's see what there is about them that makes them what they are. So they're young. So they're energetic. They are tech savvy. They've always been wired. They are living in a world that's never felt safe. All were born on or post 9/11. They're cynical, they're frustrated and angry. They are challenging traditions, and they're motivated to change. If you think about how these attributes line up with some Gen Zers that we know about, there's Greta Thunberg, who's holding us older people accountable to slow down climate change. And in the lower picture, these are students at Stoneham Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, who are or were working to change gun control laws. So Kate and her team are working to develop and facilitate face-to-face big talk dialogues, specifically among Gen Z and older adults. I've met some of these Gen Zs, and they are on fire, and they are educated. So putting those two together so that we can learn about our different worldviews and understand them, and to discover common ground, and with hope to create an action agenda. Here's another nonprofit that's already taking action with Gen Z and older generations working together in a way we're more familiar with. Generation Citizen is a nonprofit organization whose mission is, and I quote, to ensure that every student in the US receives an effective action civics education, which provides them with the knowledge and skills needed to participate in our democracy as active citizens. How often do we hear people say, no one teaches civics anymore? Well, this one does. It started not in the Bay Area. It was initiated in 2008 by students at Brown University. There is a San Francisco Bay chapter since 2013. To date, there are more than 30,000 middle and high school students nationwide who have been through the program. Currently, there are programs only in major metro areas, but the organization is working to expand. I love the model of this. It works so well. It's classroom-based with teachers as the mentors, and there's 2 programs per year, one in the fall semester, one in the spring semester. The step 1 is getting together a group of students, 10 to 12 students, to choose a topic that is meaningful to them. Topics like teen vaping and violence, the homeless, public transportation, plastic waste, air pollution. There's many, many more, and they come up with their own issues. In step 2, as a team, they do research and develop action plans, but they don't stop there. Sometimes in school, you come up with the issue and you figure out an action plan, but you don't take it. In step 3, these students actually do take action. They meet with legislators, they write opinion pieces, they develop and conduct surveys and focus groups, and they begin to gather their data and who's helpful and who isn't, and what they've learned and what they haven't and what's left to do. Step 4, the students present their projects to community leaders at Civics Day, and this happens twice a year with each group. And it's a bit like a science fair, where the teams of students gather and display what they have done, what they have learned, what the action is, and how they plan to go forward. And they don't stop there. And step 5, some of the groups continue to take action as teams, even after the program is over, because they're really invested in it and they want to make actual change. I participated as a judge at last year's Civics Generation Day in San Francisco. I was thrilled to meet and talk with some of these young people who I know will become the civic leaders of tomorrow. They're very articulate. They know what they're talking about. They know what they want to do. If there's one in your area, if there's a Generation Citizen group in your area, they want to get involved in that. The last one I'll talk about is an organization that I have been volunteering for since 2005 in a variety of capacities. Developing learning programs, mentoring individuals and groups of job seekers, and becoming close friends with many of them. Because immigration and immigrants are among the issues that I care about the most. Upwardly Global was founded in San Francisco in 2000 in a studio apartment with a laptop and 1 employee. It now serves immigrant job seekers, thousands of them all around the country. We help immigrant professionals find work in their fields. Immigrants come from developing countries. They have a minimum bachelor's degree and at least a few years of work experience in their field in their home country. They are legal, and they have at least some command of the English language because all the classes and everything is done in English. With all their professional degrees and experience and motivation to work in their fields, however, they usually start out taking survival jobs just to pay the rent and feed themselves. Jobs like making beds at the Marriott, driving Uber or taxi, serving coffee, parking cars, being security guards, while they work to find work in their fields. It's a terrible waste for them, for their professions, and for the US economy, because these are very smart, educated, motivated people. So most recently, as an active volunteer, Upwardly Global has let me introduce my own program and to pilot it for women refugee job seekers. Most of these women are between the ages of 30 and 50, and I've developed a program that helps them not only with their English, but with their confidence and their ability to integrate into society. So I call it Table Talk Web Meets, and I'm going to tell you a bit about it. Table talk is what people do when getting together to discuss issues of mutual interest and significance. The big talk conversations are, they're akin to friends sitting around a table and sharing opinions and ideas and challenges and successes and sometimes plans for action. The table is a virtual one, which allows participants nearby or from all over the world to meet face-to-face via the internet. So in our Table Talk Web Meets, we get together weekly on a Thursday evening via a Zoom conference call. In preparation for that, I researched and assigned a TED Talk for them to watch, something that I feel is appropriate to their particular needs. There are also along with the TED Talk, there are some associated questions to think about that we can talk about. There's no wrong answers, just stories and thoughts from their own experiences. There's no teaching. I'm not teaching English. I'm just helping them gain confidence and ability to talk in English. When I envisioned the program, and when I piloted last July, I expected the women to rotate in and out as their English improved. What has happened is even better and has been transformational for me. The pilot group has stayed on. They haven't rotated in and out. They're showing greater and greater growth in the English language skills, and even more important, growth in their self-confidence. I will give you an example of a couple of the women that have been with us since early on. Esra from Turkey joined the group in July. She was one of the first. By profession, she is a systems engineer. And right now she has a job in her field in the Houston area. At the beginning, Esra was very timid. She spoke softly and hesitantly. As the months have passed, though, she has visibly blossomed. It's a beautiful thing to see. Now she speaks with confidence and recently told the group how much the TED Talks and the Table Talks have changed her. Now she says, I'm very confident in myself. I can speak up for myself. I know that I have value and that I can do anything. One more, Eskadar from Ethiopia joined the group a couple of months later. She works for a biochemistry company in Silicon Valley. She also began very shyly and admitted that she was very nervous when making presentations at work, fearing that coworkers couldn't understand her accent and wouldn't accept her as an equal. Knowing that, I chose a few TED Talks that dealt with speaking and presentations, things like body language and voice and presenting yourself with confidence. Now, Eskadar tells the group how confident she is. She says she no longer feels unsure of herself. She says, and I quote, I can give talks easily now. And also, by the way, she was recently promoted in her job. There's another positive outlet, at least one more positive outcome in helping immigrants, and that is PR, public relations. Many job seekers over the years have asked me, why do you do this, Tresa? You aren't paid for it. They come from countries where volunteering is not common, at least not the kind of organized volunteering Americans do. And I know for sure that these immigrants are reporting back to family and friends in their home countries about these crazy Americans who give away their time to help newcomers. And then the people in the home country get a different perspective about Americans than they see in the movies or the media. So there's two more of these programs in the works. I can't facilitate all of them, so I'm recruiting friends to help me with that. And as well, other nonprofits are showing interest in using the model because it works for many things besides English language conversation. The more I talk with people, the more ideas for the application there seems to be. And this is my dream, is to grow it. And by the way, I'm giving away the model free to organizations that share my mission. So to sum up, what's trending now is big talk about important issues among generations, conversations that have the power to advance goodwill and peace around the world. When we do big talk on issues of importance, good things can happen. Sometimes it can even lead to the solution of problems. For anyone who wants to be part of the big talk trend, I've prepared some conversational starters. A good way to practice is with people we already know or think we know. I'm willing to bet that even among people who have been in the same Rotary Club for years have never asked questions like these of each other, and therefore they don't know the answers. You may not even know how the person sitting across the dinner table from you for years or decades would answer. My husband Jim and I, with 52 years of marriage behind us, we tried this out not long ago, and we both were surprised at some of the things we learned about each other. By the way, these questions appear on the handout that Bruce has. There's dozens of other questions you can ask. You don't have to stick with these. Now you may ask, after you've looked through a few of these, are these questions really big talk? For example, the one about the thing that you wish you knew how to cook. And I would answer yes. Because in asking and answering questions like these, they can lead to other questions. And then we get to learn about each other. And when we learn about our common interests and passions, we may just find that others have the same interests and passions. So for example, if one of you were to ask me the thing that I wish I knew how to cook, I would say baba ganoush. And hopefully the conversation wouldn't stop there, because you would ask, well, what is baba ganoush? Or why baba ganoush? And I would tell you that I have spent a lot of time working in the country of Turkey, and that is one of the foods that I liked the most. And I wish that I could make it. I tried it once and it was terrible. So I wish that I knew how to make that. And that would probably lead you to ask another question. Well, what were you doing working in Turkey? And I would answer that. And they would say, do you still, and then you might ask, are you still going there? And I would answer, yes. And then you might ask, but aren't you afraid to go there? And I would answer no and tell you why. And you might ask me, you know, what did I like most about Turkey? So you see, when we ask these questions, and we get the first answer, then we continue to get more and more information. And that's how we really learn about another person. And when we get 2 or more people agreeing, talking, hearing the same things, and agreeing on their same passions and goals, we can, if we want to, we can team up and take some action. So I have a suggestion for your club. It works in person or via the internet, either way. If you haven't already done this, use one of your meetings to learn about each other. Everyone on this call has a compelling story to tell about something. So when I did this with a virtual dinner party on Zoom, we began with, start where you are, tell us where you are. What do you have? What do you have that you can use? And what are you doing with it? And also, where does the passion lie? Then spend some big talk with some big talk questions and answers, like the ones on the previous slide. And as you get to know each other, see where there are overlaps with resources and passions. That alone can be satisfying. And where there are overlaps, talk about ways you can potentially work together and possible ways to contribute more to ongoing local or international projects. Maybe the outcome won't be a Rotary project. Maybe it will just be an exercise in big talk. But here's what I know. We all can speak, listen, really listen, and learn from one another. And that alone can be important. And the mere fact of really listening to someone else's story without comment or judgment can be one of the greatest gifts of all. Please try it. So I'll end with this. It's another one of the quotes that I have on my board. As the poet Emily Dickinson penned in one of my best loved poems, if I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto its nest again, I shall not live in vain. Thank you all for the important work you do as Rotarians. And thank you for the pleasure of presenting this. It has been my pleasure.